So, she's probably right. I definitely am an anxious person. So I had 2 kids in order to pass that on. I thought having 2 would help with anxiety, because if one ended up in a cult or, in my basement playing video games until his 50s, there's still a chance the other one would be able to validate all of my life choices. Of course, it took my parents 3 tries over the span of 18 years to make one decent person, so we might not be done, even though I feel very, very done. I know that when I break down, or yell at my kids, I know that that's just a chance to apologize and repair, and just to show that, I'm just a human being and we're all human and it's okay to be a human and to make, mistakes. But do they really have to see my humanity several times daily? Wouldn't bi-weekly humanity be enough? I also project a lot, according to my therapists and coaches, which means I take my own negative beliefs and act as if they're coming from others. So I have a terrible, really dysfunctional marriage with my projected husband. We have a lot of fights because he's always telling me I'm wasting all this money on therapy and coaching to no effect. My stand-up comedy's crap. That's what the projected husband says, but I make sure to include my real husband in the fights just so he doesn't feel, lonely, or left out. Strangely, the projections only last while we're physically in the same room together. So we'll have a fight and then I go into the next room, and after a minute I'm just like, Masha, come on, he's a nice guy and he loves you, just go out and give him a hug. And then, I just want to show him some love, so I just open the door and I see his face and you motherfucker, slam the door back in his face. So that was one reason it was so weird to be in Alabama this summer with only my daughter, because I got off the plane and it was it wasn't even real or something. I was just I was walking and talking, but it didn't feel like I was really living my life. And then I realized I was just so, disoriented, because with my husband and my, projected husband out of the way, no one was shaming or judging or criticizing me. Okay, I was in my parents' home, so of course I was being shamed, judged, and criticized, but it wasn't by people who still mattered to me. All right, so now it's time to switch to the Jew jokes. Are there any Jews in the audience today? So, please no whining or kvetching about what I'm about to say. I want the goys to relax and enjoy themselves, okay? So just to keep it down. So I'm a Russian Jew who grew up in Alabama. So I'm obviously in therapy. Because this is how this plays out. The Russian part of me hates Jews. The Alabamian part of me hates Jews. But the Jewish side of me really hates Jews. And all of my core personality traits, guilt, self-hatred, anxiety, really just who I am inside, are products of my excessively Jewish ancestry. I know this because I've seen a lot of Woody Allen movies. A lot of people are talking about self-care, vacations and massages, but my self-hatred is so intense that my self-care goal this year is just to drink when I'm thirsty and pee when I gotta pee. I just want to stop having droughts and floods. So I'm already fantastic at feeling guilty for anything bad with which I can be in any way associated, and then my brilliant ancestors moved to Russia. To be fair, they were encouraged by being deported from every other country they tried to live in previously, but still. So now, if someone's like, oh, what's that language you're talking to your kids in? That's so interesting. I'm like, it's Russian, but don't hate me. I organized the peace protest, and my dad's actually Ukrainian. And the other thing that life in Soviet Russia did is to stamp out all faith in God. Along with all faith in mankind, of course. So I lost the main benefit of being Jewish, the tight-knit community. When I say I'm Jewish, the emphasis is on the ish. It's a shame because there's a real synagogue here in town. And it's open 5 days a year. other Jewish couple in town, you know, like the couple who doesn't run the synagogue. But I'm scared that if I meet these other like real Jews, they'll be like, aha, we found one. And now you have to celebrate all the holidays. Don't want that. So don't blow my cover, okay? Actually, I do go to the synagogue weekly, but that's because I sing in the North Voices choir, and we rehearse in the synagogue. I'm actually a little bit concerned about that because some of our warm-ups go sort of like, wee wee wah, and there's like a room of 40 people doing this simultaneously in a synagogue after dark, middle of downtown, in unison, right? So any passersby will quite reasonably conclude that the Jews are summoning Satan every Wednesday night. Maybe my discomfort with Jewish people comes from being such a minority growing up in Alabama. I remember walking into a synagogue there once and thinking like, uh-oh, like, this isn't right. What's happening here? Like, this isn't good. There's just not supposed to be so many of, like, us. Someone should just take care of this problem. But, like, seriously, Russian anti-Semitism didn't really help either because you internalize that you're an undesirable person, right, for, you know, like, generations. But I'm happy to say that Russians have recently become a lot more friendly and open-minded about Jews. For real, like I found a survey where they asked people if they agreed with a couple of anti-Jewish statements. 30% of the Russian respondents were undecided, and only 10% fully agreed. And the statements were not even that extreme. 1, all Jews should leave Russia immediately. And 2, Jews are the cause of all our problems. So almost a third of Russians are undecided about whether to blame Jews for all their problems and deport them. That's pretty good progress, right? But I just don't trust us, I don't know. Like, for example, we did not have my son circumcised, and when he was still young, he had a little bit of irritation, like in that area. So we went to see a urologist in town, and totally unexpectedly for me, he says, we need to do a circumcision. I was like, whoa, is that your medical opinion or your Jewish opinion, Dr. Weinberg? I'm faking his name to conceal the identity of the real person. Did you just recognize that I share my last name with a few famous rabbis and use your medical authority to score another circumcision for God? Long story short, we didn't do it and my son was fine. So take that, Weinberg. Take that, God. My family's divided into mostly agnostics, a handful of very distant Orthodox Jews, and then my dad, who is, I believe, an agnostic deep down, but he's also afraid of death and, the eternity of endless nothingness that awaits us all. So I believe he's going through the motions of being religious to convince himself that he's got a spot in the afterlife. I kind of fake it till you make it approach. And these Orthodox relatives in upstate New York, they don't really make a good case. I visited them once, and I unwittingly used the fish knife to slice some cheese. Everyone gasped in horror because God had commanded us to not bathe a calf in its mother's milk. How a cow can give birth to a fish is just one of the many well-kept secrets of Jewish mysticism. So then my aunt had to purify the knife ritualistically by boiling it for 2 hours. I'm just glad they didn't have to boil me for 2 hours. It's a little kind of a pause. I'm going to shift sections if anyone wants to drink or eat or something. Of course, you can do that at any point. I don't have to do the whole 13 pages. I'm not sure how much we should do.